Julian, good to get you on MTD CNC
very much.
TV. Either I need to stand up a bit or you need to
come
do
down
you
a little bit more, yes, that's right.
Now, you said you were going to make me smile today, and you have already. Let's get into the detail about this machine. We're going to review the Hyundai Wea vertical lathe that we have behind us here.
Okay.
The first thing for me is, how do you identify a possible customer for a machine type like this?
It does really depend very much on the components that the guy wants to machine. It is really an application-specific machine. Where people often ask now these days for a chucker, well, chuckers are really a little bit harder to come by than they used to be. So it's looking at the part and trying to convince him this is the right way to go. He doesn't need a tailstock. He's not machining shaft components. He's generally working in a situation where he wants to load the parts easily, generally by a jib, and we can sort of talk to him about the kind of machine, the size of machine, the capacity, what he's machining, and it's...
Well, let's come on to this machine in a minute, but before we do that, do you often go into machine shops and find engineers that would benefit from this machine but have no idea that this concept exists?
Heavens, yes. There's many times we're asked him to go in and see someone and say, look, I want a lathe, I want it to be 20-inch chuck, even bigger in some cases, but I want it on a slant bed. And I said, well, why? Well, because I've always had slant beds. Yeah, but have you ever considered a different approach? And the different approach being this. It's still a turret machine, which is what you're going to be buying if you buy a slant bed type machine. So what's the difference? Oh, well, I've never really thought about this before. And it's just getting that thought process changing from a traditional slant bed type machine to a machine such as this, a vertical turret machine.
Now let's talk about the advantages between the vertical compared to the horizontal lathe from your perspective.
Certainly loading of components is far easier. Certainly the kind of parts you put on a machine like this are generally disc type parts, whether it be seals or gears, flanges, various different components, but they're generally not long parts. You know, they may be 20-inch diameter, they may be 6 inches high. Well, that kind of part is easier to load on this type of machine than any other. Swarf clearance, okay, it's still as good on the slant bed, but you know, on this kind of machine, it really does lend itself to that type of part.
With having the chuck in that plane means the swarf falls away.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Now let's talk about this machine on specifically here. We've got the Hyundai Wea LV 1100 RM. Tell me about the size of it, and tell me about what the RM means, and tell me about the quality of the Hyundai Wea brand.
Well, the machines we bring into TW Awards are all aimed at a specific market, and some markets very demanding. They're looking for strong, rigid, reliable machines, and the Hyundai Wea fits the bill in all those particular aspects. But the LV series, which is a series of machines, I should point out, and they're all designated LV, R or RM. R is the right hand. The turret you'll notice comes from the right hand side on this machine because it's an LV 1100 RM. M stands for the driven tool version. You can have an R or an RM, as you can have an L or an LN. The nice feature about that being is that the opposite hand, you can put two machines side by side, and eventually you'll have the two working areas side by side, so you can work up 10, up 20 on parts if you want to.
And does that happen a lot?
There's quite a lot, yes. We've got significant numbers of machines out in the field now, and you'll find that when people are looking at processing components of the type we've discussed earlier, you know, the seal type parts, they want to do up 10 and up 20. Sometimes they may have an R and an L with an M or just being one of them, so they can have driven tools just on the second end.
Okay, now this machine itself, I want to learn more about what size of part it can take,
Sure.
What's on the turret, the control, and all those elements.
Yeah, I mean, this machine, this is 1100, as I said, so it will actually turn 1100 millimetres diameter. It's got a 40-inch chuck on there, which is an option. Standard is 32, but 40-inch chuck on there, and you can actually go a metre high if you want to. A metre, certainly, you can turn a metre length on the outside of diameter. You've got to be consider, obviously, on using boring bars, working internally, then you have the length of the boring bar to take into account, which will reduce it down to 500 millimetres. But as I said, most people don't really look at parts that long. But you've got that size, and coupled with a 60 kilowatt, it's 80 horsepower, geared spindle drive on this machine. This will machine just about anything. And the kind of companies we're selling them into are doing subsea work in canal. They're turning speeds down to 35 metres a minute, 35, 50 at the top end, and it's absolutely bang on for this kind of customer. They think they're absolutely wonderful. They really do. They're wonderful machines.
You're pretty passionate about the capabilities of the machine, which does say a lot. I mean, would you say when you are competing with others that you tend to win most of your battles?
You know, it'd be very arrogant to say yes, we do. We always win, because we don't. What we sell isn't just the Hyundai Way, you see. We sell TW Ward. It's the whole package you get from TW Ward, not simply a machine. The machines are an intrinsic part of everything, and they've got to be good. And they are. But it's the whole package from TW Ward, from the spares, the telephone support, the service engineers. It's all a big deal, and it's all wrapped up together. And it's very important these days. You've got to have that overall package.
And a couple of last things. The turrets on these, sometimes they're either 10 station or 12. What's this one?
This is a 12-station turret with driven tools on every station.
You got much power in those?
Heavens, yes. I mean, it's equivalent, really, of a small machining centre, a vertical machining centre. You've got 7.5 kilowatt coming out of those driven tools. And, of course, that's a standard drive. And there's any number. Being on a BMT back end means you can put any number of different gear drive holders on there for driven tools as well. So, you know, there's a lot of capability there.
And would it be fair to say that when you sell one of these, you do tend to sell them another machine because of the reasons you've said already, to maybe put one next to each other or build up a cell that could be robotically loaded?
Not everybody needs a cell. The fact you can establish these within a cell environment, as I say, left and right, and possibly a CMM machine, and possibly a vertical machining centre, all operated, you know, loaded by robot, possibly even, it's a big thing. But not everybody needs two. Some people just need the one. Some people just need two right hand. Some people recognise the fact, well, I want chuckers. I don't want slant beds. I don't got the room. You can see for yourself, the footprint, even on a big machine like this, is quite small. I'll have two same machines. There's all sorts of different people buy them.
I think you're dead right. If you look at getting a chucking machine like of that size on a horizontal plane, it's going to be a much bigger footprint, which people don't want, do they? They want to keep things in a small footprint. I think I'd probably just end this interview, Julian, by saying that the great thing as well is this machine's here in stock, isn't it? And you carry a lot of these.
It is a policy of TW Ward to carry stock. We believe, to meet the demands of the market today, you have to have stock. Things have been slow for the market in general. The demise of the oil and gas market over the last year or so hasn't helped anyone. But the thing is, there are still people out there who want to buy machines, and having them available now is very, very important for people. So to have them in stock, as we do, is very, very good.
Good stuff. Thank you, Julian.
No problem at all, Paul. Pleasure.